Meta. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Chris McMahon. I'm so excited to have you here. This is another episode of Easy Wins. Today's going to be talking all about the best way to possibly lose fat while tracking your macros. I know, sounds like a long title, but the truth is, it can be an easy win. A lot of people, when they are trying to lose weight, especially when they come to me and we're working together online, they think they've tried everything in the books. They think that nothing's going to work for them. And then we start tracking, right? We track calories, we track protein, we track fiber, and we'll talk more about that throughout the video. But we start doing that and we do it more accurately. And they practice the skill of tracking in and of itself. And you know what? They start to lose weight. And you know what? They have this feeling of control, feeling like they're in the driver's seat. Suddenly they realize that there's no particular food group they have to avoid, that there's no specific eating window they have to be in, like these barriers that get put up by popular diets out there. And the truth is, you don't have to really be concerned about any of those things. But that's not sexy and it doesn't sell a lot of books. The only way someone can lose weight is if they are in a calorie deficit. If someone isn't losing weight and they think they're in a calorie deficit, they're not in a calorie deficit. I know that can be hard sometimes. People like to blame it on hormones. Couldn't be further from the truth. So if we have to be in a calorie deficit, how can we achieve that? Well, first and foremost, you need to know how much you're actually consuming. And if you're just guessing, well, you're not actually going to get into that deficit. So tracking is where you get started. Now, a lot of people will think that means, well, I have to track like 3 macros. I have to track protein, carbs, and fats. Protein has 4 calories per single gram, carbs have 4 calories per single gram, and fat have 9 calories per single gram. You don't have to track all 3 to see progress. Let's think of things on the scale of good, better, best. Good would be hitting your calorie goal plus or minus 150. Better would be hitting your calorie, protein, and fiber goal. Best would be hitting all 3 macros within about 5 grams. The thing that is best, that will guarantee you lose weight the fastest, isn't actually the most sustainable. And I usually don't have people track all 3 macros. Maybe if they're a type A personality. But for the most part, the majority of my clients do not do that. My baby's in the background. They won't track all 3 simply because they're not a physique competitor, like a physique model or something like that, or a bodybuilder. And their livelihood doesn't depend on it. They're not a model. They're not an actor. Right? So we don't go that route. What we do track our total calorie goal, because if we hit our total calorie goal at the end of the day, you will lose weight if you are in a calorie deficit. Doesn't matter. There's no special macros that can't. Nope. You have to be in a total calorie deficit. So even if you were eating super what we'll deem healthy foods, but you were eating in abundance and eating in a calorie surplus, you would gain weight. Eating at calorie maintenance, you would maintain that weight. So calories are the biggie. The next one under that is protein. Protein is going to be really important while you're losing fat for a couple different reasons. It's going to keep you full because protein actually requires the most amount of energy to digest. So technically you're burning calories while digesting protein. Because it's only 4 calories per single gram, you can have more of it. You are exercising, which you should be doing while you're trying to lose fat with resistance training. It helps you preserve lean muscle mass. It helps you build muscle. It's an important part of your nutrition. Now, the other part of that is I have people track fiber because fiber has direct relationship with reduced all-cause mortality, and most of America does not nearly consume enough fiber. So a safe bet is to think of 14 grams of fiber for every 1,000 calories consumed. Now, somewhere between like 28 grams to 36 grams is like a cool place for people to be, but you can go above that. There's no reason you can't go above that. Just like you can go above your protein goal. There's no reason you can't. But if you're tracking those 3 things, it becomes a lot easier. You have more wiggle room with your carbs and fat. And if you have more wiggle room, you're more likely to follow through on what you're doing. You'll still see results. Now, someone could argue that you need all 3 to be perfect. That's the problem. The easy win here is that you have to understand you don't have to be perfect. Being perfect means you're probably going to fucking quit. And we don't want to be quitters. No, we don't. Because we want to be consistent. So if allowing yourself to have more wiggle room and making sure you hit 3 targets or even just 2 targets, right? Total calories and protein, guarantees that you're probably going to follow through. And that's most important. finding the thing that makes it easier for you to follow through. If you don't know how to track calories and you don't know how to get started, I would just suggest tracking your total protein. Just track your total protein, how much protein you're having throughout the day. That's a great place to start. And if you're not sure how much you need, you could click below and get my calorie calculator. That'll tell you how many grams of protein, carbs, and fat to actually have while you're in your calorie deficit. A good rule of thumb is take your goal body weight and multiply it times 0.7. Anywhere from 0.7 to 1. 0.7 is the lower end of the range. You can even use 0.6 and you'll be completely fine. I think a lot of people, when they do this, they do goal body weight times 1 and then they're like, wow, that is 175 grams of protein. Wow, that is 150 grams of protein. And currently I'm eating like 30 grams of protein. Well, the problem is it becomes really overwhelming and daunting to try to hit that higher goal. So what you could do is just set a goal, a baseline goal of 100 grams. Make sure you're hitting at least 100 grams of protein per day. If you're hitting 100 grams of protein per day, what does that look like? Well, to keep things simple, let's say you're having 3 balanced meals, so that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 1 snack, just to keep math round here. You could have 2 snacks, it doesn't matter, but 1 snack is gonna be ideal. Let's have it be protein-based. That means you need about 25 grams of protein at each meal. Okay, so you have one option that's gonna be way more accurate, which is the option of weighing and measuring things using a food scale. That's gonna help you make sure that you're actually hitting 25 grams, but maybe you're like, I can't do this, that's a lot. The other option here is that you can use your hand. Your palm of protein is about 3 to 4 ounces of protein, which can be anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of protein, depending on that source. So if you're aiming for palmfuls of protein, that means you wanna hit at least 4 palmfuls of protein by the end of the day. Now, there are tons of different options here for you to figure out those proteins. What you can actually do is click below. I'll give you my full fat loss guide, which has an extensive protein shopping list and has some metrics in there so you can know what would work best for you. But if you can do it that way and you just check off at the end of the day, all right, I have 4, then that's gonna help you. You're gonna build success with tracking. Tracking is gonna not feel as daunting. Then you can move from there and be like, all right, I'm gonna go total calories and then palmfuls of protein. Cool, now I'm gonna actually just track my protein and my total calories, weighing things and measuring things. If that's even still too hard for you, what you could do is just write down everything you're eating, like everything that enters your mouth, write it down on a piece of paper. Then at the end of the day, you can go to Google, type in how many calories are in X or Y or Z and write everything down. Now that takes a longer time, but for someone it can feel more comfortable to write things down just to get into the habit of actually tracking. Tracking is not inherently bad. And in fact, for most of my clients, they find that it really is empowering and suddenly doesn't make them feel as worried about getting things 100% right because they know at the end of the week, if they're in a total calorie deficit, that's what matters most. So even if they have a day where they go up on their calories, 2 days where they go up on their calories, if they are in that deficit for the entire week, they will still lose weight. That's this week's episode of Easy Wins. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any other questions, do me a favor, comment below, let me know, and I will answer them for you. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You give a thumbs up if you found this helpful. And above all else, remember, you're 1 day away from getting back on track and 1 day away from realizing how fucking amazing you are.